How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of Beared Down Uncut, the show where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, in episode number 134 of Uncut, we are back discussing Ohio State's Justin Fields. Based on some recent reports that we'll get into a little bit later by Ian Rappaport and others, it seems like Fields and possibly some other quarterback prospects could slip to the bottom of the top 10 picks in the upcoming NFL draft on Thursday. Today, we're going to be discussing whether or not the Bears should trade up and whether or not it is worth mortgaging the future for another quarterback. Welcome back to the show, guys. Feels good to be back consistently. The NFL getting back into the swing of things. We've got draft coverage coming for you guys the rest of the week, so be sure, if you want Bears content every day of the week, to drop a like on this video and subscribe. We've also got a draft stream coming on Thursday. We're going to be live on YouTube all night Thursday, starting at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to come and join us for that as well. We're going to be giving our instant reactions and analysis to the Bears pick, wherever that may be, as well as the rest of the first round. So be sure to join us for that. But let's hop into this one, guys. I am your host, Chris Malpe. Today, to discuss Justin Fields, I am joined on the right of me by both of my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton, getting the gang back together, getting rolling towards summer football coming back around. Guys, what's going on? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Swamped with some work. But other than that, I'm just recording a little video for you guys midday. It's 3 o'clock here in Indiana, but yeah, just chilling.
Jaylen, what's going on, my man?
Man, it's been a while since I recorded with you guys.
Yeah, it has.
I feel like now's the time of the year where we're going to start getting going consistently again. I remember last year around this time is when we had like our big blow up.
Yeah.
And I love the NFL draft, so I'm excited for the live stream and such, but keep going, Jaylen. Sorry about that.
Yeah, me too, especially because around this year I was freaking stuck in Arizona for 4 months. So, being back home, I'm in the process of moving actually. So it's been a rough couple months, especially right now. I'm sore from baseball practice and stuff like that. So, finally, happy to get back on here, video with the boys and talk about some Bears football because it's draft time and probably the most exciting time for us Bears fans, probably since like week 6 of the NFL season. So.
Yeah, and wild enough too. This is our 3-year anniversary today. We posted our first video 3 years ago today in 2018. I was a junior in high school. Parth was a sophomore. Jaylen was like 10 years old.
I was like 14, but I sounded like I was 10. So
yeah.
It's been a long time doing this. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, and we're going to keep going. But let's get into this one. We've got a lot to talk about today, obviously circulating around Justin Fields. So this movement kind of started last night, and no mean to give Bears fans hope. Just something that is definitely important. Ian Rappaport said that as the 49ers close in on their decision of which QB to select at number 3, sources say that they are down to 2 prospects, Alabama's Mac Jones and North Dakota State's Trey Lance. Obviously, that leaves Justin Fields out, and that also is going to leave either Mac Jones or Trey Lance out of being a top 3 pick. So, seemingly, 2 of these guys might slip down to picks 6 through 10, and you would see that there probably could be a situation in which the Bears could trade up for one of them. The Bears have been on the phones looking to trade up, looking to trade back. Ryan Pace doing his general thing. But let's talk a little bit about Justin Fields, because this is definitely the interesting one. It came out just about a week ago that he has some problems with epilepsy, which can cause him to have random seizures at any time, which might be causing him to dip down a little bit, but I surely hope the Bears are the team that ends up taking a risk on him. Last year at Ohio State, he threw for 2,100 passing yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Also had a great time there in the college football playoff. Showed us some really good play there as well, alongside some of these other guys like Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence. And then in 2019, another great year for Justin Fields before the COVID-19 pandemic. 3,273 passing yards and 41 touchdowns alongside only 3 interceptions. The worst passer rating he's had in his career in college is a 173.7 in his freshman season with the Buckeyes. So let's talk a little bit about this. Parth, I'm going to start with you. Seems like one or two of these guys might drip down the board, and there might be an opportunity to move up. We've got Detroit at 7. Doesn't seem like that's going to be a possibility, but I still believe that the Lions won't take a quarterback. It seems like they're pretty committed to Jared Goff, but we'll see how that goes. And then 8, you've got Carolina, and 9, you've got Denver. Both of those teams have been pretty active picking up the phones, and you've also got Atlanta at 4 if the Bears want to make that big jump. So if Justin Fields is there, Parth, do you think the Bears should try and move up and get him?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a big fan of moving up in the draft. Like for any quarterback at this point. You guys have heard me almost moving up in every mock draft that we've done. I think it's what I think the Bears should do. I don't want to go in the season with just Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. I think that makes no sense to the Bears. I'd love to see a rookie at least in the quarterback room. I think Justin Fields makes the most sense for the Bears. He's got all the talent in the world. The dude can run a 4.4. He can throw for 300 yards a game, 5 touchdowns a game. We've seen it. Yesterday he's at his low point. I think his worst game this year did come against IU when he did throw 3 interceptions against us. But
of course, you had to say that.
I had to bring it in. I had to, and I had to bring it in. But just as a little slight brag. But other than that, he's a great quarterback. He's got all the talent in the world. If it wasn't for Trevor Lawrence, I think Justin Fields is the best quarterback in this draft. I still believe that. I think Zach Wilson's insane, but there's a lot of hype around him that I don't understand where it's coming from. It's that I think that it just scares me that he comes from a small school like Mitchell Trubisky. Same thing with Trey Lance. So that's why I think I'm really high on Fields just for that reason. He's played the toughest teams in college. And he's played in those tough moments. He looked really good against Clemson in that semifinal game. I thought he put out his mind. I think he had 6 touchdowns. Even hurt his back or something in that game too. Came out and it was a beast still. I think a lot of teams are underrating him, and he'll come out with that killer mentality. And if we can get to that 8th pick with Carolina, I think they're fine with Sam Darnold. I feel like the Broncos might try to stick it out and see if they can get Fields at 9 because Drew Lock isn't their best option, I'd say, moving forward. But I think Carolina giving Darnold some money gives us a chance to move up to that 8th pick and maybe snag Fields right there.
Yeah, I got to go ahead and agree with you. When I take a look at Mac Jones, I think he's got the accuracy. He's not essentially as athletic. And then when I look at Trey Lance, I think he's got the athleticism. He's got the full package, but might not be that accurate. I think Justin Fields is a perfect middle ground between those two. Obviously, we don't know what San Francisco is going to do. I trust, when any NFL news comes out, I trust Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter over anyone else. So for him to put this out, I think it's pretty significant in showing that either Mac Jones or Trey Lance could possibly fall, as well as Justin Fields, who wasn't even mentioned in that San Francisco tweet, but I guess is still a possibility at 3. You've got to think there's also some teams that could stay where they are and take quarterbacks still. With Atlanta, I think they're leaning Kyle Pitts, but they could still definitely take a quarterback. We know Matt Ryan's kind of eclipsing the end of his career. Detroit's another interesting one as well, depending on how much they believe in Jared Goff. I still think the Panthers are an interesting one. Broncos are an interesting one. And there's definitely teams that want to move up. New England, Washington football team, the Bears. But if one of these guys slips, I feel like you have to have teams like Miami, teams like Carolina, even teams like Detroit and Denver on speed dial if one of these guys falls on Thursday night. Specifically, I would like to see Justin Fields. If anyone did fall apart, I'm going to agree with you. But I do think trading up for a quarterback in general is going to be a good move, depending on who it's for and what you have to give up. I think the Bears would have to give up less than they were looking to give up for Russell Wilson to move up to get one of these guys. Maybe something like a first this year, a first and second in a different year, maybe a 4th this year, something like that. It's still going to be a heavy price to pay, and we'll get into that a little bit more down the road. But if Justin Fields falls and he's there for Chicago, I would, or if he's there when one of these teams that's looking to trade back is picking, I would absolutely love to see the Bears trade up for him. I think it makes too much sense. We saw Matt Nagy at his pro day, and we've heard that there's been reported interest now for a while. So I would love to see the Bears move up if they can get that done. It only takes one team to shake up the entire draft board. The Bears have been scrutinized for doing it in the past with guys like Mitchell Trubisky, but I would love to see them do it again here. if they can get someone like Fields. So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you. I'm pretty sure we're going to have a consensus here, but if one of these guys, specifically someone like Justin Fields, ends up slipping down the draft board, would you like to see the Bears try and move up for him?
Oh, of course. Especially right now, it's been a minute since I've been, happy to come to the draft because we finally have a first round pick, and we might draft another quarterback. So, I definitely feel like we need to trade up. If the 49ers do take Trey Lance or Mac Jones, I feel like that's definitely, or if the 49ers take, Trey Lance, I definitely think that's going to push, Mac Jones farther than it does Justin Fields. But I think we definitely have to trade up if we want to have a possible chance of getting, a top 4 quarterback. So, I'm still shocked that, Justin Fields is not going to, more than likely not going to go top 3. Like Parth said, if Trevor Lawrence wasn't in this draft class, Justin Fields may go number 1. And, I truly
and that's it's wild to see how teams lock on to quarterbacks because we've heard now for months and months and months that it's Zach Wilson at 2. I like Zach Wilson a lot. He's someone who we were talking about a little bit during the college football season about if he was someone that ended up falling, but he's linked in at number 2, and it seems like right now, at least in Vegas, the heavy betting favorite for the 49ers is going to end up being Mac Jones, but we'll see how it plays out on Thursday night. I surely hope there's a situation where the Bears can at least look to trade up and hopefully get another guy. But, I mean, there's so many ways in which this can go. I think the Bears' biggest needs are quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle, and cornerback. And we could see them address it in so many different ways in this draft. And there's still some free agents left, so we could see them go back that route as well, try and get some veterans minimum people in. So there's so many different ways that the Bears can approach this. So many different outcomes that are possible. But if Justin Fields was in our laps, I'm sure that would be an outcome that a lot of Bears fans wouldn't complain about. But for those who do complain about it, this is what they're probably going to complain about. Mortgaging the future. Obviously, we know that the Bears would have to move a lot of picks if they wanted to move up within the top 10, where they would probably have to be if they want to get one of those top 5 quarterbacks. So, Parth, I'm going to swing it back around to you. Do you think it is worth Chicago giving up a lot of future picks, a couple of picks possibly in this year's draft, to be able to go up and get another quarterback? Do you think Ryan Pace is going to be allowed to do that, and do you think it's worth it?
I think he will if it's Justin Fields. I think the front office would actually feel comfortable going up for Fields. I think the Bears' top quarterback in this draft has to be Justin Fields. I know Ryan Pace was heavily interested in him before even the draft started, before he even declared for the draft. I think Matt Nagy also was interested in him. I think they said he fits the scheme pretty well as well. I think he is worth mortgaging the future if that involves a first for this year and the next year. I think that definitely does. Maybe a second for next year. I don't want to give the second round from this year just because of how valuable the offensive linemen are going to be in this draft, even the wide receivers for the Bears, even the cornerbacks. So we're a little bit short on players this year, so I think we need to keep the picks from this year. But next year's picks, I would be down to unload them.
All right. Yeah, I got to go ahead and agree with you. It's tough giving up future first-round picks. We saw the Bears do it to move up for Trubisky. We saw the Bears do it when they traded for Khalil Mack. But, I kind of live by the motto, you got to risk it if you want the biscuit.
Exactly.
I don't think Andy Dalton's going to cut it by any means. I think all of us can absolutely agree to that. And, depending on what the Bears do, I would be happy if they took a quarterback in the second round, someone like a Kellen Mond. But I'm much more confident that someone like a Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields would be able to cut it more than someone like David Mills, Kyle Trask, or Kellen Mond. So I think if the Bears want to continue to play winning football, if one of these guys does end up falling down the draft board, which I do believe one of them will, we'll just have to see where they end up falling. I do believe that it is worth giving up future picks for. And Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy know they have to win. I'm not sure if the McCaskies are going to allow them to trade all these picks, but you know what? If the Bears don't get it done this year, we're probably going to see a new GM and head coach next year. So I think Nagy and Pace see how important it is. They see the opportunity at hand that one of these guys could possibly fall down. So once again, I said it earlier, I think you've got to be on the phone with these teams, getting ready to pull a trigger in case Justin Fields or possibly someone else does fall in this upcoming draft. So Jaylen, I'm going to pass it around to you. I saw when Parth was saying giving up a future first-round pick, you were kind of queasy about it, but do you think if someone like Fields is there, it's worth giving up what the Bears would need to give up to be able to go up and get him?
Now, I have no problem with one first round pick because that's what you have to do to give get a, especially going up for earlier. We made the playoffs, so we're obviously at the back end of the draft, and to get one of these type of guys, we have to be in at least the top 10, top 12 if we're lucky that he falls that far. So
probably top 8 if we're being honest.
Yeah, so I have no problem giving up one first round pick. You've seen the Chiefs give up one for Mahomes, and he didn't play his rookie season. You've seen the same thing with the Texans when they gave up a first round pick for Deshaun Watson. So that's what it's going to take, especially when it's happening talent like Justin Fields. So I have no problem with giving up a 2020 first round draft pick. I made the face because Parth was like 2023 as well. I was like, 2 first round picks. He's not like a Russell Wilson. He's not what's the word I'm looking for?
He's not proved himself yet.
Yeah, there you go.
He's not in the
NFL. He's not in the NFL yet. So if this was Russell Wilson we're talking about, give him 2 first round picks because we know what Russell Wilson.
And the Bears were offering 3 first round picks for Wilson.
Exactly.
I would hope. I think I would hope that the package for this. Because moving from we saw the Chiefs and the Texans do it a couple of years back in 2017, but they weren't moving up nearly as significantly as the Bears would be looking to move up here. Moving up from 20 to possibly 4 to possibly 8 to possibly 9 to possibly something 10 through 12, or possibly anything in between there, in between 4 and 10. It's going to be pretty significant. So I think you're going to have to teams are going to have pretty steep asking prices. And we'll have to see if the Bears are willing to pay that bill. But I think if Justin Fields is there, you definitely got to pay it. So Jaylen should be interesting to see what happens.
So I think Kansas City traded up to number 10, and they were what pick were they were? They were 27.
Okay.
They traded up from 27 to 10 to get Patrick Mahomes, and they gave up a first and a third round selection. And so they gave up a first, the first from that year, the first next year, and a third round pick to move up 17 spots. So for us to do that, that's only 10 spots if we're gone up to like 10 or 8. That's so. Who knows? I think it's realistic, but like you said, a lot of teams like the 8th team with the 8th pick is the Panthers, and they traded for Sam Darnold, but they still take quarterback or take something to help protect Sam Darnold and give him weapons or something like that. So who knows?
I also think other teams could probably bait Chicago knowing that they want to move up for a quarterback into a higher asking price. But before we close this one out, obviously I think we're all consensus on if Fields does fall, which looks semi-likely at this point. Moving up for him is definitely something the Bears should at least consider. Let's talk about the other quarterbacks because we do know that right now it seems like San Francisco is choosing between Lance as well as Mac Jones. I've also seen some stuff about the Atlanta Falcons, who are at 4, who are fielding calls about moving back. They are interested in Trey Lance, and obviously I brought it up earlier. Matt Ryan's time is slowly and shortly coming to an end. The former 2016 MVP is probably not going to be around for much longer, but, we might see more than one of these guys slip. We might see Lance slip a little bit. We might see Mac Jones slip a little bit. So, Parth, I just want to ask you, if any of these guys do slip other than Justin Fields, and obviously, the 49ers still might take Justin Fields. We're not really going to know until we're there on draft night on Thursday. So assuming that one of these guys would fall to the lower half of the top 10, are you willing to trade up for anybody, or is it only a certain couple people that you would trade up for?
Justin Fields is definitely at the top of that list for me. Other than that, I think Mac Jones and Trey Lance are both pretty even. I do like Mac Jones just a little bit more. I feel like he is more of an NFL quarterback, more NFL ready, if anything, just because of that experience he has in college football. Trey Lance didn't play much in college ball, but again, you never know how that could turn out. He could be an absolute beast out of nowhere. Would I be willing to trade up? Probably not to the to the top 10 at least, maybe the teens, so it wouldn't be as expensive. I don't want to give up a future first for Mac Jones or Trey Lance. I'll say that for Justin Fields, I'd be comfortable to give up a future first.
Yeah, I'm probably going to go ahead and agree with you on a pin. I just think Mac Jones and Trey Lance are a little bit more of wild cards.
Yeah, exactly.
And Fields is also a wild card. I mean, there's no real guaranteed prospects in any drafts outside of probably Trevor Lawrence this year. Even Zach Wilson is probably a little bit of a risky pick at 2. But, I think it's worth trading up for Fields. I like Lance a little bit, but that just reminds me of Trubisky a lot, where the accuracy isn't essentially all there, but the athleticism is. And then with Mac Jones, can he really perform when he doesn't have all the talent in the world around him? There's so many question marks with all of these guys. I just want the Bears to get a quarterback in the first 2 rounds this year, so they can at least have someone to compete with Dalton. Ideally, I would hope that they get someone within those first 10 picks if they can look to move up. So it's someone who we know is going to take over, if not start off the season as QB1. But if Fields isn't there, I guess it really just depends who falls and how far they fall. We'll have to see that. But Parth, I agree with you. Fields definitely at the top of my list in that regard. Jaylen, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance, it's an interesting situation because we can maybe see one of those guys fall as well. But once again, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks in this draft still. Detroit, once again, Carolina, maybe even Denver, Atlanta. So these guys could be gone before we even get a chance to see them. I think there's going to be 5 quarterbacks gone within the first 10 picks. But if another guy falls, is there anyone that interests you in regards of trading up?
Like Parth said, not giving up a future first round pick. Like I said, for Fields, he's not an NFL quarterback yet. We're just going based off potential and what we've seen so far in his Detroit's career at Ohio State. So no, not really. Mac Jones, now, before obviously all the hype came in, that was probably one of my number 1 guys realistically, and I'm still kind of iffy on him because he's not very athletic, but he is accurate, and that was the thing that we didn't have in Mitchell was consistent accuracy. Well, Mitchell did have athleticism, but that's not the main point of a quarterback. So he was my my number 1 for realistic options, and obviously now he's projected to go in the 3rd overall pick. So with Trey Lance, once again he's another small school, type of.
I think he's probably the biggest wild card in the entire draft.
Yeah, he only played 1 game this year because of they canceled their season. But if you look back, Trey Lance had a very good career at NDSU. So who knows? But I'm not giving up first round picks to trade him, for Trey Lance or Mac Jones if he even gets that far. But I have seen multiple my drafts where Mac Jones has failed to 20. But those are computer simulated, and we really don't know what's going on in these GMs and coaches' heads on how they evaluate talent. So, once again, who knows at this point?
Hey, man, last year we covered the draft, and there were many surprises, and I'm sure there are a lot to come in this upcoming one. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode number 134 of Uncut. Should be interesting to continue monitoring the situation with Justin Fields. And once again, we're going to be live streaming during the draft. So be sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe if you want Bears content every day of the week. Feels good to be back. Man, this whole Justin Fields thing is going to continue to grow and grow and grow up until Thursday night. I'm sure we're going to be answering a ton of questions about it moving forward, and wouldn't be shocked if we made another video including him soon in the future if we do any more mock drafts. But once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to keep the draft content coming to you guys, so be sure to subscribe whatever platform you are on. It would mean a lot to us, and your guys' continuous support definitely keeps us motivated. If you want more content from us, we're getting our website back up and going this week, beareddown.com. It's the link at the top of the bio. You can go check out some stuff that our writers do. They're doing draft coverage right now, so be sure to go check that out. If you would like to find the podcast on social media, you can find it on Instagram and Twitter at Beared Down. You can see sneak peeks of guests that we have coming on. You can enter giveaways that we do a couple of times throughout the year, and also give us suggestions on what you want to see on the channel because we love doing videos that you guys like to see. So be sure to go check us out on social media. And finally, before I close this one off, you can find all of our social media pages down in the description, our Instagram pages, as well as our Twitters. It's a great way to interact with us once again, as well as Yes, a place where you can see all of our thoughts on the entire National Football League as well as the entirety of Chicago sports. So be sure to go check us out. Those links are in the description as well. Parth Shaw, Jaylen McClinton, 72 hours away. In fact, we're going to start live streaming here in about 75 hours. And the NFL draft is here, and we are back in the swing of things. It definitely feels good to be back. But any last words before we sign off here?
It's been a while since we've live streamed. That's gonna be fun to do for sure. And I'm excited for this draft. We're basically 75 hours away from the draft as well. The draft is usually a super fun night for me. I usually think it's one of the best nights of the NFL, honestly.
Hello?
What's up?
Oh, I'm on my cut out.
Any last words before we close it off?
I thought I couldn't hear you. That was awkward. Hopefully I really get to watch the draft because they say we play games this week for baseball. So if our first game is on Thursday, I will not be attending. I will be, coming home and watching the draft. I'll make up an excuse because I can't miss out. Especially
your coaches better not watch our podcast, man.
I think I showed it to him too.
Is he a Bears fan?
Yeah, they both are. So
God.
Okay.
Please don't watch this.
Subscribe. Hopefully they subscribe and they're watching right now.
I could write them a letter of absence. I could sign off that you need to miss your game because you have work opportunities.
I appreciate that, but like I say, so I can't wait. Like I said, I tweeted this multiple times on Twitter. This is probably the fastest the draft has ever came for me. Like I looked up last week. I'm like, bro, the draft is next week, and that's crazy because other years it's it takes 30 years for the draft to come. I don't know, maybe because I'm still doing online school, so I basically do the same thing every day. But the draft week, like I said, one of the best weeks of NFL, the NFL season in general. And I can't wait, Beared Down.
Yeah, and before we know it, training camp's going to be around, and it's going to be summer, and we're going to be back doing videos every day because that's the best time for us to record, back to double uploads and stuff like that when we have more free time and aren't all in school. So that's right around the corner, and it's going to be here in a blink of an eye. So once again, thank you guys for supporting Bears content every day of the week. We're going to keep it coming to you this week and cap it off with a live stream on Thursday during the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft. Once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be your host. My name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.